Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about column detailing. So our topic is what is column and why it is required. So here I have shown the figures based on the loadings. So first we will see the today's discussion. So today's discussion is what is column and why it is required, and the second is why the reinforcement required in the column. Then the third, how the loads are transferred to the column. Then the fourth one is how to design the column. And the fifth one, types of column. And the last one is how the columns are classified in column layout. So if there is a building or anything, any type of structure, there is a layout will be there. So if that is a framed structure, so surely there will be a column layout. So how the columns are classified in the column layout, just we will see with one example. Okay, so today we will go into our topic. First one is what is column and why it is required. First is what is column. It is a vertical member in a structure or any member is vertical, it is called a column. So next one is it is a compressive member. Told earlier it is a vertical member and it is a compressive member. So which one is right? Thing is both are right. It is a vertical member. When a member is vertical, it is called a column. And the second one is it is a compressive member. What is compressive member? We will see. So this is the compressive member. Here we can see the cross section of the column, and this is the front view of the column. So this is the width and this is the depth, and this is the height or length of the column. Here you can see the load applied on the top of the column. If that is a compression force, if it is a downward, means it is a compression force. It's not like a downward. When the load is applied towards the member, it is called a compression force. So you can see here in the 3D view, when the load is applied towards the member, it is called compression force. When compression force is acting on the member, it is called compression member. So that is why I told it is a compression member. So one is the major stress is compressive stress. In a column, most of the load, if we consider your loads, there will be two types of load. One load will be a compression load, and second load will be a horizontal load. If there is a horizontal load, it is seismic load or wind load. The vertical load is called compression load. So in this, the major, if we compare to horizontal and vertical load, the major load is a compressive load only. So major stress is compressive stress in the column. Next one is not all vertical members are called as a column. Earlier I told if there is a vertical member, it is called a column. So now this point refers not all the vertical members are called as a column. Why? What is the reason? When effective length of the vertical member exceeds 3 times the least lateral dimension. Here same again we saw earlier. So this is the height of the column or length. So this length, it should be greater than 3 times the least lateral dimension. Least lateral dimension, width or depth. So this is the least dimension. Okay, so in this, the length of the member should be greater than 3 times the width or depth. We can see the example. So this is the cross section, and this is the width or B. We can call it as this is the depth of the column or D. For example, you can see that here B is equal to 300 mm. Just I am considering for an example. So least dimension is 300. Okay, then L should be 3 times of least dimension. So L is equal to 3 into 300. We will get 900 mm. Then it is called column. When the vertical member is greater than the least dimension, least lateral dimension, then it is called column. If the member is less than 900, then it is not called as a column, it is called as a pedestal. Next, why reinforcement required in the column? In the earlier slide we saw what is column and why it is required, and now why the reinforcement is required in the column. As we all know that concrete is a good in compression, then why reinforcement required? Earlier I told it is a compression, column is a compression member, and also the second point is concrete is good in compression. Then why we need reinforcement in the column? Column is a compression member, but minimum steel has to be provided. In any concrete member we have to provide a minimum steel to withstand the load. In similar situation, column also we have to provide a minimum steel reinforcement. Why? To assist in carrying direct loads. When there is a load directly applied to the member, concrete member, it will make a crack. So like that, it will make, if there is a direct load or sudden load, means it will make a crack. To avoid these cracks, so we have to provide the minimum steel. And next point is to resist the tensile stresses. Steel is good in tension. We know that in column there is a most compressive load will be there and compressive stresses is more, but even though there will be some tensile stress is developed in the columns, to resist those tensile stresses we have to provide a steel. So the steel is good in tension. So next point is to resist the movement when there is a eccentricity in column. To resist the movement when there is a eccentricity in column, when the load is applied at some distance from the x-axis or y-axis, both the axes, then the movement will be developed. At that place we have to provide the reinforcement. First we will see what is movement. So what is movement? So same cross section I have shown. This is the cross section and this is the front view of the column, height of the column or length of the column. What is eccentricity? So first you will see when the compression force is applied eccentric, you can see in the 3D diagram, okay, it is not in the center of the axis, it is some distance, that the distance is called E. The E is equal to eccentricity. So when the compression force is applied some distance from the axis, it is called eccentricity. Okay, so we know that what is moment? Compression force into the distance is called moment. Next, to impart the ductility, the concrete is brittle in nature. So as we all know that concrete is brittle in nature, so to impart the ductility, so first next we will see what is ductility. Ductility and brittleness, you can see the in the section view, short compression member. So this is the column, you can see the load, compression load is applied on the top and bottom, force F, it is called force or P, both are same. So this is the ductile member. So when we applied, you can see in the dotted line, this is the original shape of the column. After applying the compression force at both the ends, both the sides, you can see the bulging. So this is what happened if we apply the, or if we include the steel in the column. If we include the steel in the column, it will slightly bulge, but it will not get a crack. So if there is a ductile material, it will be act like this. So you can see the third one, the load is same, a force is applied on both the end. If there is no steel, it will be cracked like this. if that is a brittle material, it will crack like this. So that is why we record the steel. So next, to prevent sudden brittle failure. So as we saw in earlier, to prevent the sudden brittle failure, so we record a reinforcement in the column. So next, how to design the column. Design of column necessitates determination of load transferred from beam at different floor levels. So actually, how the loads are transferred to the column, the slab load is transferred to the, that is a slab or floor load transferred to the beam, then from beam to the loads are transferred to the column. So that is what this point explains about. And next, loads are transferred from slab to beam and then to the columns. So that is the same point I told now. So how the loads are transferred to the column. So you can see the picture here. It's like a framed structure with slab. The number 1 indicates the slab here, and the gravity load is applied to the slab. So this gravity loads are transferred to the beam. So that is the number 2. It indicates. So you can see the arrow mark from here. The slab load is transferred to the beam, and in the beam you can see the arrow mark, it transferring to the column. And the third one is the, here it is column. The column, it is transferring the load to the footings. You can see the footings, there is a pressure towards the upward side. So that is the soil pressure. So you can see here, so in the column it is a downward, so it is a compression member. So the compression load is applied, so it is a compression member. You can see in the beam it is the away from the member, so it is called tensile member. So that is why the reason we are saying beam is a tension member, column is a compression member. So hence the slab and beam are normally designed prior to the design of columns. So the procedure is, first, earlier we have to design the slab and then we have to go for a beam based on the slab thickness, everything, and the area. We have to go for the beam and then only we have to go for a column and then footing. So this is the correct way. This method is called exact method, which enable one to assess the load on the column more accurately, and thereby the design of column becomes realistic and economical. So in the above point we said slab and beam are normally designed prior to the design of columns. So based on these methods we can get the realistic and economical section for the column. Otherwise, if we design the column earlier before designing the slab and beam, so using thumb rule only we can design the column. But if we design the slab and beam or earlier, and then based on these loads if we design the column, we get the realistic and economical, that is the correct value of the loads and exact measurement of the column we can get. So then in this we will see how the columns are classified into 5 types. So first one is based on the shape, and the second one is based on the material, third one is based on a type of reinforcement, and fourth one is based on type of loading, and the fifth one is based on type of slenderness ratio. Okay, when we are designing a column we have to consider these 5 types. Okay, in these 5 types their behavior is different. Okay, so if we, for example, I will take a square column. The square column, it will have a shape, so column will be based on the shape. And the second one is material, so what type of material, whether it is a steel or timber, concrete, everything. So the second one also should have to satisfy. The third one is type of reinforcement. So whether it is a concrete column or steel column, so based on the reinforcement also it will be, and type of loading, so how the load will be on the column, and slenderness ratio, whether it is a short column or long column. So we'll see. So in a column these 5 criterias will be included. So note, it's just a classification. Yeah, it's just a classification. A column can be a combination of both types, like a column can be rectangular shape with a tied column, etc. So these above types we will see in detail. The first one based on shape. So there is a square column or rectangular column, and next one is the circular column, and next one is L type column, T type column, hexagon column, octagon column. So everything we'll see in image reference. So column shapes, in the first we can see here it is a square column. It is a size is 400 by 400. You can see in the cross section here it is mentioned. And here this is the rectangular column. 2 rectangular columns I have shown here. One is the 600 by 400 and another one is 900 by 250. We can see that. And the third one is the L type column. So the column is L type. You can see in 3D view as well, cross section as both. And the fourth one is a T type column. So it is L shape, T shape and all based on the floor layout. Okay, if that is it is not this is the special cases, so it is not everywhere we are now designing. Wherever it required we will design. So normally we will go for a square or rectangular column. Okay, and here you can see the circular column in the last, you can see, and here you can see the hexagon, octagon, one Y type, pure Y type column, and this is the arch type column. So you can see the columns based on the shapes. And the second one based on the material. The first one is the concrete material, and second one is the steel column, third one is wooden, and next is brick column, and then next is stone column. So we can see this column in image, column by material. The first one is the concrete column, maximum and minimum amount of steel using, so it is we will call it as a concrete column. And you can see here prefabricated structure, and this is the vertical members are called here using steel, and horizontal everywhere we have used the steel members, so it is a steel column. And here you can see the brick members used, so this is a brick column. And here stone columns, stones have used to transfer the load from the slab, so stone column. So here in the veranda we can see the wooden column supports the slab, so this is the wooden column. So next we will see the types of reinforcement column based on the types of reinforcement. The first one is a tied column, and second one is spiral column, the third one is composite column. So column by reinforcement. Tied column, you can see the tie here, rectangle, or same if there is a circular it will be same circular range, that's all. So tied column, there is a transverse steel, the horizontal steel is called the transverse steel, and vertical steel is called the longitudinal steel, and the horizontal steel also, that is called tie. And the second one is spiral column. So you can see the vertical steel as well as the, but here there is no, there is a tie, but the tie will be in spiral, it is not a rectangular or in circular, so it will be a spiral. And you can see the composite column. Here there is a two types of composite column. So the outer edges you can see here in the cross section, the steel tube, that is a steel tube, and inside we can pour the concrete, or in this second image, you can see the rectangular column. Inside we provided the steel section, I section. So these two are called a composite column. So next, based on the slenderness ratio, the first one is a short column. So when we will call it as a short column and when we will call it a long column. Short column, effective length of the column divided by the least lateral dimension, and it should be less than 12. If the length L divided by B or D, width or depth of the column should be less than 12, then it is called a short column. If it is greater than 12, then it is called a long column. So we will see with the example how we will define the short column. So short column, you can see the 3D view of the column. The length of the column L is equal to 3.0 meter or 10 feet. It is in feet and inches. So B, we can see the B and D, width of the column and depth of the column. So here width of the column B is equal to 230 mm or 9 inch. So depth of the column 230 mm or 9 inch. I am taking for example these two are same value. So mostly in IS 456 or Indian cases, so minimum the column width is 9 inches or 230 mm. So that is the reason I take minimum, and the length is around 10 feet or 3 meter. So this is the minimum case, so I take this values. So consider the column in framed structure. So if there is a column, that is mostly the structure is a framed structure, so I am considering it as a framed structure. For framed structure, end condition is equal to both ends are fixed. So if there is a length of the column, we will not directly apply in the slenderness ratio formula. So we have to apply the end conditions, then we have to go for calculating the slenderness ratio. So what is the slenderness ratio formula? Effective length of column divided by least lateral dimension. So how to calculate effective length of column? So effective length of column is total clear span or clear length of the column into end condition. So what is the end condition means? So for framed structure, end condition is both ends are fixed. As per IS 456 code, if the column is both the ends are fixed, then 0.65 into L. So L is the length of the column. So effective length of the column L is equal to 3 into 0.65. So we will get 1.95 meter. So the effective length of the column is 1.95 meter. So we will apply to the slenderness ratio. So slenderness ratio equal to LE by B. So that is 1.95 divided by, we have the B is equal to, we know that B is equal to 230 mm or 0.23 meter. So we will get 8.43, so which is less than 12. So we will check with depth as well. So LE divided by D is equal to 1.95 divided by 0.23 is equal to 8.47, which is also less than 12. So hence it is called short column. So next, long column. We will see long column is effective length of the column divided by least lateral dimension, same, which is greater than or equal to 12. So we will see with the example. If the column is effective length of the, if the slenderness ratio is greater than or equal to 12, then it is called a long column. You can see here the length of the column is 5 meter. Here 16 feet 6 inches. So B and D, that is the least lateral dimension, width and depth. So here same, width of the column is equal to 230 and 9 inch, and depth of the column is 230 or 9 inch. So consider the column is in framed structure. For framed structure, end condition is equal to both ends are fixed. As per IS 456, both ends are fixed means we know that 0.65. So the effective length of the column LE is equal to length of the column, that is 5 meter, into the end condition 0.65. So is equal to 3.25 meter. So the slenderness ratio of the column is LE divided by B, which is equal to 3.25 divided by 0.23. We will get 14.13. So which is greater than 12. So here it is shown as a less than, but it is a greater than 12, so it is called long column. And we will check with another dimension as well. Slenderness ratio LE by D is equal to same value we will get. So here as well it is greater than 12. So next type is based on the types of loading. The first one is a axially loaded column or internal columns, and the second one is the column subjected to axial load and uniaxial bending or side column. So in the first type, we can, if we see later in the picture, and the second as well. The third one is the column subjected to axial load and biaxial bending or corner columns. So let me see now the first one, axially loaded column or internal column. So here the axial load, when the load is acting on the center of the axis, both the side, it is not on the both the side eccentric, so it is acting the compression load, or the load is acting on the center of the axis, is called axially loaded column. So here in this second we can see the column subjected to axial load. So the column is subjected to axial, so the axial load is acting here, and uniaxial bending, so which is the column load is acting on the axis only, but with some distance acting on the away from one axis, and column is subjected to axial load only, but it is acting away from the center, so it is called uniaxial bending. Okay, and the uniaxial bending will develop. So if the load is not acting on the center, it's acting away from the center, so it is called the eccentric distance, the away distance is called E, so that is the eccentricity. So then the moment will be developed. So how the moment will be developed? If the load is acting on the center, means direct load will be, we can take it as a for calculation, but here if the load is acting away from the member, so then in here we have to take this load as well as moment to calculate the or to design the column. So what is moment? We already saw moment is load into this eccentric distance. And the third one is column subjected to axial load and biaxial bending or corner column. So here you can see the load is acting vertical only, but it is away from the both the axis as well as center, so it is called biaxial bending. So the moment will be developed on both the direction x as well as y. So here from the y axis how much distance is called ex, from the x axis how much distance it is called ey, eccentric distance. So we have to calculate moment on both sides, then we have to apply during the design of this column. So here mx is equal to p into ex, and here my is equal to p into ey. So here the terms I have shown: internal columns, side columns and corner columns. So we will see this clearly with the layout. So this is the column layout, you can see here. So just I take some column layout equally. Okay, so here it is from this corner to here it is a 4 meter, and second grid is 4 meter, and from second to third to fourth grid is 3 meter, and fourth to fifth grid is 4 meter, and same way here, but this side are equal, 4 meter, 4 meter, 4 meter and 4 meter. Okay, this column is which column is axially loaded and which column is biaxially loaded and which column is uniaxially loaded. Okay, first we have shown C1, C2, C3 column layout. So C1 is the axially loaded column or internal column, C2 is the uniaxially loaded column or side column, and C3 is the biaxially loaded column or corner column. So how I take these columns in the column layout, how I take the column is C1 is the axially loaded, C2 is the biaxially loaded, uniaxially loaded, and C3 is the biaxially loaded. So I have explained with the column layout in another video which is in our channel, so please watch. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, share, and please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.